So there's a millions of book around this globe, okay, and the human lifespan was around, if you are from India like me, 69 years, okay, 70 years, okay. If you are lucky, you can go farther, okay, but the average is around 79 years, 69 years, okay, or 79. I don't know, but around that, okay. So what are the solution? You cannot, if you read one book per minute, and that is not possible by the human brain, okay, to read in such a fast and grab all the concept. So you cannot cover that. Even if you read one book per minute, you cannot cover all the books that has been written and there in this world. So what are the solution to become great, to become great scientist, to become great in your field? Okay, you have to choose. You don't have to choose a lot of book and then select what is the best and then stick to it, okay. So because that is going to cost you a lot of time, okay, and eventually you're gonna get bored, okay. So the best solution is to follow the greatest of that particular field, okay. Do not listen to street engineers and follow the greatest, okay. Follow the best, okay. So these books, this is, for example, I will show you how I read in my colleges. I mean, how I do things. So this book is called Molecular Biology of the Cells. And if you want to know about the cells, and if you are doing research about the cells, then you must have some basics of the cells. And for this you need some great books, and this books by Albert and Lewis, very popular, okay. So so this book is almost having 1500 pages, and this book in 1500 pages, and initially they are very introductory, but as you grow they are going to be complex, 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 and the way you can imagine. And these are just a basic for the research. If you are doing, okay, it must be on your tip. So this book constitute 1500 pages, and this is the only one topic, okay, that is cell. So do not expect from your professor that it going to taught you 1500 pages of book line by line, and and this is only for the one topic, that is cell. So you have to read at your own, and it having 1500 pages, so you're gonna get bored, okay, eventually. So the first step is to maintain and create a relationship with your book, okay. For that you have to make interest in the book, and I will going to show you the way I read it is is the simplest way to make a relationship with the book, so you can tackle the complex in the further, okay. So this is the part 1 of the book, Introductory to the Cells. Chapter 1, Cells and the Genomes. In this chapter we're gonna study the universal feature of the cells on the earth. I mean, what are the characteristics of the cells on this planet, okay. Because I mean, even still today there's only earth we find such mystical and enigmatic things. The second one is the diversity of genomes and the trees of life. I mean, look at around yourself, okay. Those are all the living organisms, and the basic unit they made up of as the cells. But look at the diversities of the, I mean, the slightest the slightest change in their genome leads to the, I mean, huge phenotypic diversity, and this is represented by the trees of life. The third one is the genetic information in eukaryotes, okay. So we're gonna study it the way I okay. One thing else, in the foreign great institutes, colleges like MIT, Cambridge, Oxford, students read at their own and go to the college, okay, and then discuss. Professors do discussion about that topics, and you are free, very feel yourself free to argue with the professor, but that must be positive, in a positive way. But in India, students don't don't read, okay, at their own, go to the colleges, attend the lectures, and professor is not going to taught you, okay. And that the first one is whatever they follow in the MIT and the Oxford, from there only the geniuses and the scientists are born. Why? Because they, your age, I guess your age would be more than 20. So if you are more than 20, you are good enough, you have the brain, you have the great physical, I mean everything was there in your body. So what restricting you? Why you are trying to be spoon fed by your professor? Read at your own. Okay, and use professor for the discussion. And if you don't understand any line, then go to the professor and ask. Okay, so that is the biggest thing you have to adapt if you want greatness in college and the scientific journey. So I will read it and I will show you how I establish and how I read at, because it's a huge book. I mean one topic, and that is 1500 pages. Okay, so the surface of our planet is populated by living things. I mean, wow, great. The first line itself a great. The surface of our planet, if you are geographist, you must say that, yeah, the surface of the planet is by the rocks and the soils. Okay, but if you look, you have to look at the dynamics. You know why we are saying that the surface of planet is populated by the living things? Because look around yourself, living things are all, going there where, I mean, they are creating something, building, so they are so vibrantly looking. Okay, so the surface of the planet is populated by living things such as we, curious. Yeah, indeed it is curious. Intricately organized, complexly organized, delicately organized chemical factories. So what they are? I mean, what the surface of the planet is populated by living things. But what are they? I mean, what are exactly they? We see that, yeah, this is a human, this is you. But what exactly they? That is curious. Yeah, intricately and delicately, what they are? Just a organized chemical factory. So what we are just organized. Okay, we are rebelling against the nature of the universe, that is entropy. Okay, check out our video on entropy. Okay, so intricately, delicately, complexly organized chemicals we are. Okay, chemical factories that take in matter from their surroundings and use these raw materials to generate copies of themselves. In fact, indeed, that is enigmatic, such a mysterious things. I mean, we are very delicately complex, organized chemical factories, call ourselves all living beings. And the enigmatic thing about we is that we take matter from our surroundings. Okay, we take matter from our surroundings. What we take? Guess. Living things we consume or non living. Yeah, we consume living. Okay, but we do prefer the non living also for our comfort. For example, you have the clothes. Okay, but the where the clothes come? If you are getting silk cloth, then the silk is made by whom? The living organism itself. Okay, so is it very it is very enigmatic and mysterious that we are the organized chemical factories and we take the matter from our surrounding. I mean, what a automatic system we have. I mean, this earth, this nature has been created. We take the matter from our surroundings. Okay, all the resources in our surroundings, and use these raw materials to generate copies of this. What the I mean, it's a very I mean, mind blowing stuff. We take the matters from our surroundings and we generate copies of themselves. We take something else and we generate copies of themselves. Okay, I mean, amazing. These living organism appears extraordinarily diverse. Okay, and the living organisms, we also come under the living organism stuff. Very basics. Okay, so the living organisms appear extraordinarily diverse. Look around yourself. Okay, that's not only humans, there's another, such as trees, animals. Yeah, we are also animals, social animals. Okay, what could be more different than a tiger and a piece of seaweed? So try to understand what are the difference between tiger and a piece of seaweed, because both are living entities. We cannot say the entities for the living things being. Okay, both are the living stuff, very organized chemical factories, we can say, that take things from the surroundings and generate copies. So tiger do the same stuff. Okay, they take the things from the surroundings and generate their copies. And the seaweed also do the same, or bacterium also do the same through the binary fission in the G2 phases, and the trees also do the same. Yet look at ourselves, the diversity we possess, but the basics are the very same. Yet our ancestors knowing nothing of cells of the DNA or the DNA. But our ancestors, if we talk about the ancestors, they don't know about the cells and the DNA. In fact, DNA is a very not even, it's not even being 100 years since it's been discovered. Okay, so all these things, so our ancestor, despite of not knowing about the cells and the DNAs, they saw everything. Okay, doesn't mean that DNA discovered by the Friedrich Miescher with the name of nuclein doesn't mean that DNA exist that and previously not. Indeed, they exist, but we don't know. Okay, so our ancestors also don't know about those things, but they have eyes, so they saw all these things had something in common, and what they saw and what they recognize up in even though they don't know about the cells and the DNAs, that yeah, there's something common in them. Okay, if you take tiger and the seaweed or the bacterium or trees, there's something common, and these basics are also recognized by our ancestors who don't know about the cells and the DNAs we know today. They call that something life, and they call these things are life. Okay, marvel, yeah, it is indeed, it's a marvel. Okay, so there's some similarities in the tigers, in the bacteria. I don't know they even able to saw bacteria or not, of course not, but they can probably see the colonies. Okay, marvel at it, yeah, it is marvel. Struggle to define it, but they call it life. Okay, there is some commonality they see and they call it life. Marvel at it, at it. Okay, struggle to define it, but what is life indeed? It's very struggle uh, to define it. Okay, complex to define it. If we say complex to define life, what is life? Okay, and despaired of explaining what it was and how it worked in terms that relate to non-living matter, and it is very difficult to explain what it was or how it worked in terms if we relate to non-living matter. So non-living also known as inanimate, and the living also known as inanimate. Okay, these are just English terms. So it is very struggle to define uh, in terms of non-living matter, to define living. Okay, because if we talk about the growth, living life things also grow. Okay, but the non-living also has the ability to grow. For example, the mountains, they get accumulated and grow and grow and grow, but the thing is their growth is extrinsic and the living growth is intrinsic from the interior. Okay, from within, we can see. The discoveries of the past centuries have not diminished this marvel, quite the contrary, but they have removed the central mystery regarding the nature of life. Okay, so the discovery of the past centuries, okay, hundreds of years, have not diminished the marvel, these marvels. Quite the contrary, they have removed the central mystery regarding the nature of the life. So what are the mysteries? Central mystery regarding the nature of the life has been uh, probably is been solved. We can now see that living things are made up of cells. So we are so much of clear in our experiments, in our thoughts, that the living things, okay, living things are made up of the cells without any exception. It means all the living entity which you see from your eyes or even not, they all are made of the cells. Even if you talk about the bacteria, even they have a single cell, but they are the living entities, a small membrane. And what are these cells? Okay, made up of cells. But what are these cells? These are a small membrane enclosed units, or so like that, membrane enclosed units, and within this units filled with a concentrated aqueous solution of the chemicals. So indeed we are the chemical factories. Okay, but organized chemical factories. Okay, and a small packet of chemical factories, we can say a small organized packet of chemical factories we are. Okay, so all the living things are made up of cells without any exception, indeed. And what are the cells? They are the small membrane enclosed unit filled with a concentrated aqueous solutions of chemicals and endowed with the extraordinary ability to create copies of themselves by growing and then dividing into two. So the cells, if we talk about, so they are, like a territory, the territory bounded by a lot of walls, and within that territory there's a concentrated aqueous solution of chemicals. But the thing about these chemicals is that, and we're gonna study is about these chemicals and small things floating on those chemicals. Okay, so these chemicals have an extraordinary ability to create another kind of chemicals, okay, that look the same, okay, to create copies of themselves, okay, by growing and then dividing into two. So we cannot say that they can divide without growing. Growing is must. Okay, so the thing is, सो मैं हिंदी में बताता हूँ. फॉर एग्जाम्पल रसिया. रसिया बहुत ही इट्स अ ह्यूज कंट्री. ओके, बट इट गेट डिवाइडेड. वाई इट गेट डिवाइडेड? बिकॉज बहुत वो बड़ा हो, यूएसएसआर बोलते थे, ठीक है, यूएसएसआर बहुत बड़ा था एंड उसे कंट्रोल करना बीच से इट्स वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू कंट्रोल इट. सो वो डिवाइड हो गया बहुत सारी चीज़ों में. रसिया बना, यूक्रेन बना, देयर इज अ लॉट ऑफ एल्स. ओके, इसी तरह सेल्स डू ग्रो. ओके, सो द एक्वस concentrated compartments do grow first, and the growth is continuous. Okay, and when they reach at the very extra, when they reach the very extraordinary size, they going to be divided so that the nucleus can have a good control of the cells. Okay, because if the territory get a lot of bigger, then there's of course a lot of glitches going to happen. Okay, because cells are the fundamental units of life, it is to cell biology the study of the structure, function and the behavior of the cells. So as we can see, the cells are something the fundamental of the life and the diverse of the living beings. And this is what we are studying in the cell biology. We study the structure of the cells. What are the structure, what are the boundaries, what are the function, what are the function it perform to make us a living entity and behave like that. And behavior of cells, what are, how and why they behave like that, that we must look for answers to the questions of what life is in, how and how it works. So to give the answer what life is and how the life works, we have to look at the fundamental of the life, and that is cell. And for the cell we have to look its structure, its function and its behavior, then we can conclude what is life and how it works. Amazing. Okay, there's a quote, it is like that, learn like an artist, learn like a professional, and break the rules like an artist, like that, I don't know, but like that, with a deeper understanding of cells and their evolution. Okay, so if we have the deeper understanding of cells, because they are the fundamental of the life, we're gonna have the we're gonna trace the evolution of the cells, and from that tracing we can finally find out, oh yeah, that is how the life begins. Okay, and that is how, what the behavior of life is. We can begin to tackle the grand historical problem of life on earth. Okay, that what is life, I mean, that is the grand historical problem of life on earth. I mean, how the life appear on the earth. Because I mean, life, if we see, yet today it's only appear on the earth. Okay, so what makes us special, what are the environment. So एक quotation एक और है, that surround yourself with the I mean, तुम्हारे जीन्स से ज़्यादा फ़र्क पड़ता है कि तुम अपने आप को किससे सराउंड करते हो. ठीक है, यू गोना बी सम ऑफ 5 पीपल यू सराउंड योर सेल्फ विथ. ठीक है, सो जो इन्वायरमेंट होता है ना, संगति, हिंदी में बोलते हैं, अपने परिवार में फैमिलीज़ में संगति बोलते हैं, तो संगति सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट होता है। तुम जीवन में कहाँ जाओगे कहाँ नहीं, इट्स नॉट अबाउट द इंटेलिजेंस, इट्स नॉट अबाउट द बुक्स यू रीड, इट्स ऑल अबाउट द संगति, तुम किसके संगत में हो, दैट इज़ द क्रूशियल मोस्ट। एंड बेकार के संगति से अच्छा है कि तुम खुद के संगति में रहो, बुक्स के संगति में रहो, ठीक है। सो वैसे ही भाई लाइफ का संगति ना अर्थ के साथ हुआ, ठीक है। तो भाई देखो, अर्थ के साथ इसका संगति हुआ, इसका संगति अच्छा था, तो भाई लाइफ की उत्पत्ति हो गई। सेल्स की संगति हो सकता है और भी प्लैनेट्स में हो, लेकिन उनकी संगति अच्छी नहीं थी। लेकिन जहाँ अर्थ के साथ सेल्स का संगति हुआ, इट एक्सप्रेस एंड ब्लूम लाइक अ diseases, I mean so fast. Okay, we can begin to tackle the green historical problem of life on the earth, how it appears. Okay, its mysterious origin. Okay, the mysterious origin of the life, I mean some says that God has been created, some says the panspermia theory, that it came from the asteroid hitting the earth, and there's a lot more. Okay, its stunning diversity. Okay, so the mystery is going to be revealed, okay, if we know enough of the cells and its evolution, that why it is earth. संगति इसका अर्थ के साथ, भाई संगति अच्छा तो एक्सप्रेस भी किया, तो संगति अच्छा रखो, ठीक है। इट्स स्टनिंग डाइवर्सिटी, ठीक है, व्हाट्स दैट स्टनिंग डाइवर्सिटी इट लीड्स, एंड इट्स इन्विजन ऑफ, आई मीन जो स्टनिंग डाइवर्सिटी है ना, तो भाई संगति तो अर्थ का मिला और ये ब्लूम हुआ, लेकिन अलग अलग पार्ट में अलग अलग प्रकार का संगति मिला, तो लाइफ के अलग अलग अपीयरेंसेस मतलब उत्पन्न हुए। सो दैट इज़ ऑल्सो अमेजिंग, यू कैन लर्न अ लॉट, आई मीन क्रेजी, यू कैन, सो दैट इज़ हाउ यू रीड एंड रिलेट विद द रियल लाइफ सिचुएशंस, ठीक है। खुद से रिलेट करो, खुद से सीखो। फॉर एग्जाम्पल इफ़ यू आर इन कॉलेज, संगति बढ़ाओ भाई, सेल्स से सीखो, सेल्स ने संगति की, अर्थ पे अलग अलग जगह पर संगति की, अलग अलग प्रकार के वहाँ पे डाइवर्सिटी उत्पन्न हुई, वैसे ही अपनी संगति को देखो, ठीक है। एंड इट्स इन्विजन ऑफ एवरी कंसीबेबल हैबिटेट इंडीड and emphasized long ago by the pioneer cell biologist E.B. Wilson. So E.B. Wilson, what they say that, so first you have to say that, understand that it's stunningly diversity and invasion of every conceivable habitat indeed and emphasized long ago by the pioneer cell biologist E.B. Wilson. So what he says that the key to every biological problem, if you're a doctor you can learn from this, if you, everyone can learn from this phrase, that to key to every biological problem, every disease is what you are looking at, I mean every problem in your life, okay, mental disorder, psychological disorder, any kind of problem, okay, the key to every biological problem, the mental thing you feel, everything excluding nothing, the key to every biological problem must finally be sought in the cells for living organism is or at some time has been a cell. Okay, so you are cell before you get birth and get the conscious things, the feeling of I, you are indeed a cell. So every biological problem must be rooted in that cell. So if you understand the cell, you can decipher the personality, why you have such personality, okay, डिस्पाइट देयर अपेरेंट। सो इससे आप एक चीज़ और सीख सकते हो, दैट अब तो आपकी तो जन्म हो गई, बट यू गोइंग टू गिव, आई मीन फादर बनोगे, मम्मी होगी, ठीक है, तो मम्मी एक हैबिटेट की तरह काम करेगी, दैट सेल्स, आई मीन योर सन या फिर डॉटर जो भी है, इज़ इन्फ्लुएंस्ड मच बाई देयर सराउंडिंग्स, संगति। सो चूज योर पार्टनर वेरी केयरफुली, ओके, like the cells do. Despite their apparent diversity, living things are fundamentally similar inside. So when we look up to their phenotypic diversity, you know, we see the trees and the lions and the bacteria. Okay, so they look very diverse like a trees, you know, and the branches is spreading over. But the thing is, the root is same. I mean, the root is same. The way genetic material trees ke. Okay. Living things are fundamentally similar inside, and that inside is the, you know, of course the cells and the chemicals inside that grows and replicate. Okay, the whole of biology is thus a counterpoint between two themes. So the whole biology is thus a counterpoint between two themes: astonishing variety in individual particulars, okay, and the astonishing constancy in fundamental mechanisms. So the two fundamentals of the whole biology is that the astonishing variety, I mean the mysterious, the enigmatic variety in individual particulars. So even though you are same from within, the outer appearance was very much different. Okay, so वही the astonishing varieties in individual particulars, and the astonishing mysterious constancy, I mean consistency in the fundamental mechanisms. Okay, I mean same metabolic activity, same magnesium, calciums, and all the vitamins working together. In this chapter we begin by outlining the universal features common to all life on our planets. So in this chapter, which is the first chapter, cells and the genomes, we're gonna outline the universal feature, the characteristics feature common to all life on our planet, whether it is bacteria, plants, and animals, whatever. We then survey briefly the diversity of cells, and then we're gonna survey. First, we're gonna find the commonalities, okay, and the consistency, okay, and the core principle where the varieties of the individuals and the consistency of the fundamental mechanisms, for example the Krebs cycles and all the harvesting machines, okay, the mitochondria, okay. Then we survey briefly the diversity of the cells after understanding the commonalities, okay. Then we're going to, after the commonalities, we're going to search for the diversity of cells, and we see how, thanks to the common molecular code, okay, so common, that has something to be common molecular code in which the स्पेसिफिकेशन फॉर ऑल लिविंग ऑर्गेनिज्म आर रिटन. जैसे आप भाई फ़ोन लेने जाते हो, ठीक है, तो भाई जो सैमसंग का फ़ोन है, ठीक है, कोई भी S24 एप्पल का फ़ोन है, तो भाई सब काम क्या ही कर रहे हैं, फ़ोन ही है ना. बट जो स्पेसिफिकेशंस है इस फ़ोन के, सब में हार्डवेयर लगे हैं, सब में प्रोसेसर लगा है, इसमें स्नैपड्रैगन 8 Gen 3 लगा है, इसमें A16 बायोनिक लगा है. सो ये भी प्रोसेसर है, ये भी प्रोसेसर है, बट द कोड, जो स्पेसिफिकेशंस है ना, वो अलग अलग हैं, ठीक है. तो एवरीथिंग वाज सिमिलर, काम भी सेम कर रहा है, बट जो स्पेसिफिकेशंस है ना, वो अलग अलग हैं. सो वी गोइंग टू फाइंड इट, ओके, एंड वी सी हाउ, थैंक्स टू द कॉमन मोलिकुलर कोड in which the specification for all living organism are written, okay. एंड खासियत ये है ना कि हमारा जो स्पेसिफिकेशन है सब में सेम है. इट्स गोइंग टू डिपेंड ऑन द, आप कौन सा इन्वायरमेंट चूज़ करते हो, उस इन्वायरमेंट के अकॉर्डिंग जो स्पेसिफिकेशन है अपने आप को एक्सप्रेस करता है. तो दैट इज़ द ह्यूज एडवांटेज विच वी हैव, ठीक है. एंड मच ऑफ द एडवांटेजेस आर अनटैप्ड पॉसिबिलिटीज इन आवर जीनोम्स एंड द DNAs. इट इज़ पॉसिबल टू रीड. Is it possible to read? I mean, yeah, our cells do read. तो भाई हमारे सेल्स भी पढ़ाई कर रहे हैं, रीड कर रहे हैं, तू क्यों नहीं कर रहा है, ठीक है. सो इट इज़ पॉसिबल टू रीड. अगर हमारे सेल्स उस चीज़ को रीड कर सकते हैं तो कंप्यूटर भी कर सकता है. एंड दैट इज़ हियर कम द बायो इन्फॉर्मेटिक्स एंड ऑल द कंप्यूटिंग बायोलॉजी. न्यू फील्ड आ रही है बायोलॉजी की, दैट इज़ कंप्यूटिंग बायोलॉजी. इट इज़ पॉसिबल टू रीड, measure, and decipher this specification. So we trying to, as a scientist, if you want to be, we trying to read these codes, okay, read these codes, this specification of the organism. We measure this code and we try to decipher the mystery of these codes. I mean, what are the mysteries which leads to such. And if we can decipher these things, then we also have the ability to create life at our own without the interference of the nature. We're not going to wait for the evolution to happen. We going to create evolution according to our own and very fastly, okay. We human don't have to depend on evolution, which is a very slow process, okay. We gonna do it with our hands if we understand these codes, this specification within the living organism, decipher this specification to help us achieve a coherent understanding of all the forms of life, okay, from the smallest to the largest. And here's the glimpse of the cells. We can see these are from the microscope, 100 micrometer, 50 micrometer, 50 micrometer. So so what are they? The unit enclosed the concentrated aqueous chemicals factories, okay, and then they they grow and they divide like that. So the cells of these, I don't know what it was, b, yeah, here urchin, sea urchin. This is sea urchin. Cells of the mice, I think this is mice, D, mouse, yeah, mouse, not a mice. E, the mice mouse are almost look same similar. The mice one is around white color. Okay, the E one is E, fucus seaweed. So this is fucus seaweeds. So you can look at these cells. Okay, the fundamental which you look is circular. So you have to also ask why nature prefer the circular cells. Why not it is a rectangle? Why not it is triangle? Why circular? What are the great things about the circular shape? Why nature chooses circular shape? So you can question like that. If you want to be a scientist, you can question like that. Why it is a circular? Why nature chooses circular? Why not rectangle or triangle? Why 360 degree? And why the 360 degree are also mentioned in our Vedas so much? Okay, is this a life? I mean, a circle, a circus, what it was. So the universal feature of the cell, so from here the chapter was starting. So as we see, you know the codes, a specification of the living beings. And as you can see, as you can grow up and up and up, the chapter is going to be more complex. These are the evolution of the cells, okay, and it is going to be more complex. And yeah, as much as you read, the complexity begins to rise. So you have to so you have to have a good relationship with it. And this is how I read, and I establish a relationship with the book and the topic which I going to study. So hope you learn it, and do not try to spoon feed by your professors. Try to question yourself, okay, try to question yourself, which no one asked. And try to from the same line, try to navigate something which is related to the real life story, okay. And there's a lot of things. Do not just read the lines, read the lines and then apply your concept from the nature, because all these lines have been taken out from the nature itself by observing the nature. Okay, so ask question as many as you can. Ask why nature chooses the circular shape for these chemicals within these boundaries, okay. So ask many question and try to ask from the nature, okay, why nature did this, okay. So that is how I study, and hope you learn it. Thank you. Do subscribe.